I think we're live, so I think we're going to do the intros. Put that drink down, Anthony. Hey everyone, welcome back to Bear's Workshop. I am here today with Cal from Financial Journey and Anthony from LucidVerse. And we are going to talk about Lucid and we're going to talk about Apple. And got a couple of questions lined up for them and going to get their opinion on it and see what you guys think. You guys got any comments, questions? Put them in the chat. We'll address them as long as they're cool questions, of course. How you guys doing today? Oh, all right. Well, thanks for. All right. Well, I got a list of questions here. First, I want to go over a couple things. Do you guys own any Lucid or Apple stock? Okay. What about you, Anthony?
Same with financial journey. I actually did own Apple before pre-split, but I actually did sell it off. So Lucid is my only holding, and it is my largest holding.
Okay. All right. I just want everyone to know where you guys stand on that. So, can't hear FJ and. Okay, hold on a second. We have some sort of issue here because they can't hear you. So, either one of you. So that's got to be on my end. Yes, I am. But I'm using Black Channel with it, and because I have to, because I'm on a Mac, and it is not showing anything up for you guys. I've got no audio. Of course, it was working moments ago. So, guys, give me a minute here to get this volume thing straightened out. I'm gonna just run a test and see if it has something to do with Skype. Okay, well, it has something to do with Skype because I can play other sounds and it is picking it up. I am not a Skype user. These guys are. So that's why I kind of, it would take a little bit to get that set up. Let me just see if the microphone here is working on this. Speakers. You guys want to say something?
Test, test, test. How's it
Testing,
going, everyone?
testing.
Did you say something? Because I didn't hear it.
Oh, test, test, test. How's it going,
Wow.
everyone?
That's great. It shows up that I've got volume for you guys, but I can't hear you, but I think everyone else can.
Okay. Well, that's a step in the right direction. How's it going, everyone? Can you guys hear us?
Yeah, please let us know in the chat, please, if you can.
Let's try it again. Go ahead. Say something, guys.
Test. How's it going? Lucid is green.
What is up, everybody?
I think that may have worked. Let's hear from someone. That's better. Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Awesome.
Okay, yeah, so there was some Skype setting, obviously. Oh my God, look at my background. Oh, you guys can't see it.
Stonehenge.
Yeah, I didn't realize I did that. All right, let's stay in. I'll stay in Stonehenge. That's kind of cool. I was looking at the audio settings. I must have clicked the background button, but that's okay.
That is really cool.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for your patience. We do have a couple of people on. We got about 14 viewers right now. Okay. So before, when I didn't have the sound, we were talking about whether or not Anthony and Cal own any stock of Lucid or Apple. They both said they currently have some Lucid and they don't have Apple. So that's what you guys missed. And now we can move on. So what I wanted to talk about is I wanted to talk to you guys about like pros and cons. what the benefits are for Apple, what the benefits could be for Lucid. So I put some questions in random order, just to throw things around, and we will see what comes out of this. So you guys are probably like the biggest supporters, or the people that are saying that this could happen. And my opinion is I'm not really so sure that that's going to happen. I do see some benefits to it, but I also see benefits for Apple to go with someone that's got more experience with manufacturing. So, Cal, if you could just give me a short run up why you think this would be good.
Um, in some though, I personally do feel that I agree with you. There's a lot more other companies that would be a little bit more advantageous for Apple to be partnered with, similarly with Lucid as well. But I think when it comes down to them being in the same kind of field, it just there's a lot that each other mesh with that would each be able to benefit. Like whereas technically, like for instance, Lucid would be able to benefit more so from Apple's connectability. Their cache is one attribute as well. Obviously, on Apple's side, they'd get a lot more benefits, especially their licensing. They'd get a lot more kind of the locations, and I think a lot of those factor in why it would be advantageous. Of course, hands down, I agree with you that there would be other companies both beneficial for better suited for each party, but I don't believe that might be in the cards, possibly. I don't know.
Okay. Anthony, what do you think?
Well, if we're talking about a potential partnership with Lucid and Apple and how it would benefit both companies, I see Lucid benefiting a lot more than Apple, just because it would be their cash cow. You would see a lot more ramping up of production and growth because you have Apple and the PIF, as well as the connections are there, which we'll talk about a little later. I just see Lucid being very attractive of a company for any auto legacy maker or Silicon Valley technology company because of their battery technology. Everybody wants their hands in EV and renewable energy because the total addressable market is going to explode in the next 5 to 10 years, as we know. And we've seen Sony and a lot of other of these companies that want to jump in. I just feel like Lucid is going to partner with somebody for their licensing, their battery technology, and I could see Apple being that partner. We've seen in Brickell City Center in Miami them having the studio right under. In Washington, D.C., there's a Lucid studio right next to an Apple studio as well. The executives on Lucid's team, a lot of them have 15 plus years at Apple. So I just think there's definitely some benefit to a partnership, in my opinion.
Okay. How do you think it would take place? Would it just be a business agreement? Would it just be licensing technology? Or do you actually think, and this question is for either one of you, that Apple would put a large investment in, be a part owner of Lucid?
That one would be difficult because I guess in order for the latter to occur, PIF would have to agree, which for them to give up stake, I personally think that a merger is going to be not necessarily just a hands-on agreement. I think a full merger is going to be happening. I'm sure we'll get to it, but I think there's going to be another third party to factor everything in. Because I agree with you that Apple wants a company that can actually mass produce a vehicle. So I think they're going to tie in one that would be able to do that. Because obviously the biggest hands down benefit of Lucid is their technology, and I think Apple knows that. So I think a merger.
Okay. And how do you think that would work out with the Saudis?
Well, it depends. Like in my head, at least, and I especially can kind of tell the rumors floating around. So obviously, we all know Foxconn and Apple have very close connections, and Foxconn has the ability, hypothetically, to push out mass amount of product. And not only that, they are moving to Saudi Arabia, $9 billion facility. And I strongly feel a good combination of those two companies and Lucid would be the perfect storm. And I kind of like a lot of the Easter eggs because hypothetically, well before they even announced during the recent earnings of Saudi fast facility being 150,000 as far as overall capacity, it was initially supposed to be 500,000, and that was obviously in my plan where I saw them delivering to Europe and so forth. But the fact that now Foxconn is moving into the same general area and Lucid has reduced their capacity by significant factoring, I think that goes to show that there might be something in the midst just there, but that could be just me.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so I think it's pretty obvious that if there was some sort of agreement or merger that Apple could help Lucid out with their supply issues. That's something that they're probably very good at. And Lucid, and this is very disappointing to me that of all the things to have trouble with, it's carpet and glass. I understand that the glass is kind of special. It's a very large piece of glass. Don't know what happened and why they couldn't get 520 pieces of glass, but that's something that should have been planned out a little bit better. And the quality just may not have been up to what they wanted, and that's probably what it is. But at the same time, something like that, when if you're going to come out in September or when it was and say you're going to make 520 Dream editions, the glass should not have been an issue. That should, or the carpet. So I think that partnering with someone like Apple could definitely help them with those type of supply issues. So Lucid has the battery and the electric motor technology. What else do they have to offer for Apple?
I think that Lucid brings some familiarity. I'm so blanking. They have a lot of executives that have worked both with Apple and Lucid. And it's not just employees, it's people that were there for the first generation iPhone with Steve Jobs, with the first people that were there for 15 years with the iMacintosh. And I just feel like we're seeing a lot of different foreshadowings for a Lucid Apple partnership with the Apple on the table, with the Lucid Tech Talk. You're seeing the co-founder of Apple picking up his vehicle yesterday or a couple of days ago and saying how amazing it is, where we're seeing a lot of different connections. And I just feel like Lucid could bring the luxury EV that Apple would love to make, because they're a luxury company at the end of the day. They built their brand on putting out some of the best products in the entire world in the beginning. Obviously, for phones and their products now, a lot of people have been saying that Samsung and Google may have better products. But at the end of the day, with electric vehicles, Apple had a chance to buy Tesla at $60 billion. And I feel like for them to take on the Tesla rival, which would be Lucid, because of all those connections of Tesla executives going to Lucid, I feel like we could see an easy partnership with the PIF with Apple, because you already have the Foxconn and the Foxconn deal with the $9 billion Saudi Arabian investment, as well as some other really amazing features in the Lucid Air, which could be Siri, which we've seen in Meet Kevin's video, that it's not just going to be the downgraded Alexa. Siri might actually come in as well. So I feel like with all those connections, with everybody that is picking up their Lucids from Apple right now, which has only been the co-founder, I think that we could be in store for a nice potentially licensing out the battery technology, not a full-on merger. But I would love to see either one for Lucid Motors, because it would obviously increase their brand for sure, as well as their stock price immensely. But Apple already screwed up with Tesla. I don't think that they're going to screw up with Lucid. And the PIF was going to take Tesla private, and they ended up investing billions of dollars into Lucid and going to be putting more money into them as well. So I feel like there's some connection there just because no no big tech company really wants Tesla to win right now. And if Apple buys Lucid or partners with Lucid, their EV industry and sector will exponentially grow, in my opinion.
Okay. So let's talk about Apple and their EV situation. Do you think that they would come out with only a luxury car? Apple's been known for having products that are more expensive than most others. So would they just come out with a $150,000 car, or would they try and get something for the mass markets? Because while they have expensive stuff, they also are very mass market, and it's volume, volume, volume. And each phone, while still costing $700-800 at a minimum, they're still making several $100s off of each one. Their margins are very high as far as parts go. So when it comes to cars, though, you can mass produce them, but you can't have them at 3 times the price of a regular car because it's not going to. There's just not the market for it. People don't have that kind of money. So, what do you think if they're partnering with Lucid, or if they were to buy Lucid? Lucid's already got something that is expensive. They've got their luxury line. Do you think Apple would want to go straight for, let's get something that everybody could buy? Or do you think that they would be going along the luxury line if they're doing their own thing?
I personally think that, well, there's a couple different what ifs in this, but even hypothetically, Lucid trying to do that same concept of doing that $25,000 vehicle in around about 4 years, that is destined to hit the mass market. And if Lucid can actually get it, obviously it's luxury-ish vehicle down to 25,000, Apple could tentatively either just do a partnership, merger, whatever it is. They could benefit from Lucid's ability to do so. But I think I think it was Project Titan, if I remember correctly. I think their vehicle was about 100,000, 100 to 150,000. So I think tentatively that does show what they are looking for. So they're kind of keeping in line with more of a luxury vehicle with that matches Lucid. And I think any argument that people are trying to piece together those two things, everyone brings up the fact that both Apple and Lucid really like high-end products and have the best of the best. So I don't see them doing a lower-end vehicle, but I don't know. What about you, LucidVerse?
I feel like if Lucid potentially licensed out their battery technology, it would help Lucid get to a $35,000 to $25,000 vehicle. If Apple and Lucid, if it went to a route where it was a merger or something like that, I think it would be in the range of $50,000 to $80,000 per vehicle. And with that said, I know that Tesla is increasing models of a lot of their vehicles. We've seen that yesterday when that news came out. So I do think that it might actually be a little more expensive if it's going to be in 2025, as Apple has stated that they want their Apple Car to be made. However, we have seen reports after that saying that it hasn't come to fruition and it may need to be delayed again. So I just feel like right now it would probably be around $50,000 to $80,000 vehicle, and for the more luxurious vehicles, it would probably be a little over 100,000, and they would probably try to compete with the Roadster as well if Apple wanted to decide to jump on. We've also seen the third vehicle that was still in the cover that could be a 2-door Lucid Air, and I feel like that would be a main competitor to the Roadster, and Apple probably would be pretty interested in having that, in my opinion, just because of how luxurious it is as well.
Okay. All right. I actually don't have an opinion. I don't know where they're going to come in. If Lucid markets their battery technology to Apple, then Apple, if Apple goes for the luxury line, then they become a direct competitor for a market that Lucid is trying to break into. And Apple does like luxury stuff, and or at least the appearance of it. So they could look at that as being more of a problem down the road. But if they're getting a decent amount of money for it and help with the supply chains or whatever else that they need help with, it could end up being going in that direction. Let's see.
Well, that's a very good point. One that I would say that I think that a partnership would help Lucid be able to ramp up production significantly as well as growth expansion. So it would be able to create a cheaper vehicle down the road, because I know that they don't want to just be a luxury EV maker, but it would definitely help, I think, with the Gravity production as well as some of their other projects that they have in the upcoming line too. But that is a very good point, Bear.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. How do you think Apple will work with? They're a very proprietary company. As far as you buy an iMac and your hard drive breaks, you've got problems. It's not like you can go in there yourself, pull off the screen, and swap out the hard drive very easily. On a regular PC, you could take off the cover, throw in a new hard drive, go ahead and start up, and go from there. You have that same problem on an iMac. It's always a problem. You got to really bring it into a specialty repair place or to bring it to Apple. And if you don't bring it to Apple, Apple gets very upset. Same thing with their phones. So they don't like other people working on their stuff. How do you think that would work out with an Apple car and you have a problem with a motor or something?
I agree with you, though. I think it would most likely maintain what its status quo is, actually. So they would most likely, I don't know. That's an interesting, I never really thought about that.
Anthony?
There will definitely be, as more continue to get made, if Lucid and Apple did do a partnership, I feel like the service centers as well as the EV service centers, in my opinion, are going to continue to get built up because the EV infrastructure is going to be so large. I feel like that is going to be a main issue in the beginning of these vehicles. In 5 to 10 years, well, it would be 2025, but the EV infrastructure will be built up a little more. But the first couple Lucid Air Apple owners would definitely probably have a little bit of a hard time when they are having issues with their vehicle. But if we're talking about 5 to 7 years out, I don't think it's going to be an issue whatsoever. Apple is a very secretive company, and they kind of operate similarly to the way that Lucid Motors does, as we've seen with them not wanting you to do flyovers and other people do marketing. So I just feel like that could be a problem that does come up. But if Lucid does get a pretty nice chunk of cash from that, I feel like they will build up some of their service centers and locations so that anybody that needs help can get help with their vehicles.
Yeah. Who do you think would benefit more in regards to the service centers? Because Apple has the Apple Store and they're all over the place. And I mean, I remember back when there was none, and it was a big deal when Apple announced their first store. And now they open up like Taco Bells. They're all over the place, which is great. They need to be. Lucid needs to do the same thing. But Lucid is now learning how to deliver cars, and by the time something like this happens, Lucid could have this down pat as far as the delivery of a car, a vehicle service center, which is different than an Apple store consultation, which I don't know if you guys have ever done that, but it's horrible. And I would be afraid to bring an Apple car in and they say, "Oh, you've got water damage." Sorry, we've got a marker and you ran through a puddle. The marker turned pink. You've got water damage. We're not warranting your car. Of course, that's not going to happen. Well, maybe. I'm sure they would have them inside the car and say, "Nope, you got flooded. Sorry." So who do you think would benefit more from this? Because Apple's obviously got a lot of experience with the stores. Lucid's going to bring a little bit of car delivery and service center knowledge, just not a whole lot. So what do you guys think? And it's great because it's actually the manufacturer, I know we've got, for other vehicles, we have dealerships, and dealerships don't want EV cars because it's going to put them out of business within a couple of years, which I'm really excited about. I'm not kidding. So direct to consumer is going to be the future. The dealerships are middlemen at this point with EVs. There's very little for them to do. So Apple's obviously going to go direct to consumer. They don't have to deal with the dealership fight. They will have to deal with states, just like Lucid is having to deal with state laws preventing them from selling cars. So having Apple on your side with something like that could obviously be very beneficial. So, but who do you think is going to benefit more from that? You can't put service centers in Apple stores. That's just not going to work. So, who do you think is going to get the benefit on that one?
I could see. LucidVerse, I'll let you go.
Well, I was just going to say that it would 100% be Lucid Motors, and it's not for the reasons that many people would think. I honestly do believe it would be because of the renewable energy storage system that they have. Because if it is a battery issue, then they could simply take out the battery, replace it, maybe charge the customer, which I hope it would be free at a point, but in the beginning, it probably won't. So charge the customer, make some profit off of that, put that battery into the energy storage system because it would still have about 70% of his life if it's not heavily damaged. If it's something else, if it's, I know that everybody has been talking about the iPhone charger or the phone charger that is in there that hasn't been working. I feel like a lot of people would want a service center for that. That would probably be more an Apple thing because they're probably going to be putting they could be putting Apple products in there to better improve the technology. So it would, but in my opinion, it would be Lucid because if you have a bunch of Lucid service centers, then people on the streets and everybody else is going to see Lucid all the time, and it's actually going to be marketing for them just by having physical locations there. Whereas everybody knows Apple already. You either hate them or you love them. I personally love Apple, and I know that other service centers probably would. It would probably be paid for by the PIF, or Apple would give them a significant amount of money, or they would probably do a private share offering. So I do see it being Lucid. What do you think, Financial Journey?
To be honest, I think the contrary. I think Apple. There's a lot more advantages for Apple in a kind of a partnership, and especially the kind of topic you guys were talking about for deliveries. Apple has the infrastructure already, whereas Lucid, I think hands down, that's been one of my biggest questions, and I've even brought that up in so many videos. It's like, well, we're delivering to Europe, but I'm surprised nobody even asked about that because, luckily enough, in the recent layout of their AMP facility, they have rail tracks, so they could connect to the UP rail line and take it to Houston and take it that way. But it's like, what's the cost associated? Because to a certain degree, initially I got pushed back. It's like, well, people are buying these vehicles, they're not going to care about 10 grand in delivery. It's like, well, yeah, that's true to a certain point. Then when the basic supply and demand kicks in, until you run out of actual buyers at that price, then what are you going to do? You have to reduce costs somehow. Shipping cost is one easy variable cost that you can cut. And I think that's one thing that Apple would significantly be able to benefit from. Lucid's. Actually, you know what? I guess it would be an even. Yeah, there's benefits. Obviously, the reason why so many people talk about it is there is benefits to both. Lucid would clearly benefit on the infrastructure component of that, but I strongly think that Apple overall would benefit more so from the high-end kind of licensing from Lucid. That's if that is part of the plan, at least.
I think if there was a partnership, and as far as the service centers go, they could have a mutual service center where you could take a Lucid or an Apple car if it was just a partnership. That's something that could work out for them, and Lucid would benefit from that because Apple knows how to open up a store and get it running very quickly. Plus, they would also have the cash for it. So that is something that could get service centers everywhere very, very quickly, as opposed to Lucid having to build them out one at a time. And that takes a lot of time and resources. Just where, you got a couple project managers have to devote a lot of time just to get one building built. To get multiple ones, it takes a lot. It's like building a little mini factory in a sense, because you've got to have everything that you need to repair a car, take it apart and put it back together. So I think it would be Lucid's benefit as far as that goes. As far as repairing them, Apple would be able to learn things from Lucid as far as how to get a car repaired, hopefully. We have to keep in mind on all of this, Lucid's experience. Their main thing that they have to offer is their technology. The rest of the stuff they're still very new at, and they are still learning what the best processes are going to be. They are in their own production hell, so they don't have a lot to offer in that sense. They may over time, but right now they've got a large hump that they need to get over. So I don't look at that as a great big benefit, and I look at it as a shortcoming, because that's why Apple has been in talks with these other manufacturers, because they do have a lot of experience with it. I think the whole Apple and Lucid thing, it looks good because they, in a sense, they have a similar product, high-end luxury item that is made to look classy and appeal to people's sense, as opposed to walking around with a 20-year-old BlackBerry, which is equivalent to driving around in a 20-year-old Corolla, which there are 20-year-old Corollas because they're good cars, but that's beside the point. How do you think that they would incorporate apps? And do you think Lucid is going to go down the path of having apps in their car at some point? An Apple car could have an Apple car store where you could start putting in different apps, whether it's games or music. They've kind of got that on their phone. You can't play phones on you can't play games off your phone on Apple CarPlay, but you can on a Tesla. You can play games on the center console. So do you think Apple would help Lucid with that? You think that would be something that they would be looking at? Do you think an Apple car, or if Apple and Lucid join forces, will Apple be like, you got to get rid of Android Auto, whatever it's called? I don't have one. So would they make them like not have that in the car? You think that would be a good idea, a bad idea? What do you guys think?
Well, I guess going back to your thing, I guess ultimately it would beg the question, if Apple and Lucid do partner, would Apple force its vehicle on? Because I think, based on what you said, I think Apple will, obviously, no doubtably, want apps in their car. And I think it's a good touch, which obviously inadvertently would get rid of the Android component, I feel at least. But I think that's only if they are planning only to do solely one. If they're wanting only Lucid to produce it, provide its technology to Apple, then Lucid can continue with its Airs, Gravities, do what it wants to do with Peter's idea in mind, and Apple does what it wants. But again, I guess it goes back to your point. As long as the vehicles aren't in the same actual niche market that would kind of battle for market share. So yeah, I think that's kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and another component of, if they're in the same market, a lot of people still haven't heard of Lucid. Now, you guys walk, talk, breathe, and dream Lucid. You've got people that don't know who they are. They haven't seen the cars on the road, but if they see an Apple car, they may look at that and go, oh, well, I'm familiar with that. There's a film. It's just knowing that and just wanting to go, okay, I'm going to go with that just because I've heard of it. So I would be real leery if if they were working side by side at producing the same type of car, because there is the market for a $169,000 or $139,000 car is not huge. Okay, it is enough that a car company can survive on, but you're not mass producing cars at 10 million a year. You're not at Ford and Toyota levels. You are at Porsche levels, and most people don't realize, but Porsche only makes 200,000 cars a year, which is not a lot when it comes down to it. So adding a competitor with your product, which is your main product, your main selling point is that they've got the batteries and the efficiency. So licensing that out has to come with some sort of safety net for them to not just, chop their feet off. So let's see, what other questions do I have for you guys? We've talked about a lot of that.
Well, I have one hypothetical question.
Sure.
So you mentioned about it being more advantageous, most likely for a partnership rather than a merger, or just potentially even a hostile takeover, which I can't see that happening. But even just Lucid's market cap being 35 billion and Apple alone having 63 billion in cash. So if they really wanted just Lucid's technology, could they, and especially their plan of growing and growth aspects, would it not be a lot more advantageous just to outright buy Lucid?
I don't think so. I don't think that they would get the value out of that. I think a partnership, they can get a whole lot more value as opposed to buying the company outright. They'd buy their technology, but you may lose people, and those are the people that you want to stay. There's a reason why some of those people that are at Lucid were at Apple for a while and they've left, and they may not want to stay, and they could be an important part of Lucid. That's a small aspect of it, but I just also don't see the people that do the Saudis have a majority stake, or what is their stake? Do you guys know the percentage?
It is.
It's over 60%, I believe.
62.5, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. So if Apple was to say, hey, we want to buy Lucid, what do you think the price would be? I mean, just because the market cap is one thing today, if there's an offer put in, it's going to be for more than the market cap, or at least for the majority stake. So now you're looking at that going up, that price going up higher. Because the Saudis don't need to, they want to own this company. They want to have an EV company. They want to be able to step forward out of the oil world, because they know that it's not going to last forever. I mean, forgetting about their politics, but they're doing the smart thing and realizing that they've got a commodity that's made them wealthy that's not going to last forever. And they're energy independent, obviously, because they're able to produce oil, but they need to stay energy independent, and they need to be able to control more of the market. Once the oil's gone, they will turn into a poor company. If in 20 years, 10 years, 20 years after there is no demand for oil, and oil is sitting at $10 a barrel because it's only used to produce other products. The majority of it obviously goes to cars right now. So, lost my train of thought there. But so I think that they would want a lot of money for it, because I don't think they're looking to exit, and that's going to be part of it. And
I think you asked as far as the price point where Lucid would possibly get to, or what would be offered, right? I think.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it would be above $100+ billion, just because, and I think that would be very conservative. Lucid is owned majority share by the PIF, which actually has a lot of ties to Asia and China. So if we're looking at that kind of market as well, which could be the largest electric vehicle market in the world, when you're investing into Lucid Motors, you actually have exposure to a China ally, and a lot of companies don't have that. So we are seeing Tesla continue to build factories there. Not a lot of companies like General Motors and Ford are going to be able to thrive as well as a company like Lucid Motors in a place like China or Asia. We already saw that the Saudi Arabia got a $10 billion investment to put Russia oil reserves into China. And I think that is just going to be the beginning of that kind of partnership. We've also seen that there's an oil contract that is up between the two, and that could go to electric vehicles very, very fast too. Saudi Arabia knows that they want to get into the EV marketplace as well as renewable energy. There's a huge total addressable market throughout the entire world globally, not just in the United States. And some of these companies in the United States are kept just in the States. So I feel like that's why we're seeing a lot of the names being thrown around, like places like Apple and even Nvidia, which was about to acquire ARM. I don't know if they got China's permission as well, but we're seeing that a lot of these companies would benefit from partnering with Lucid because it could actually give the companies that partner with Lucid more opportunities into these markets that you would otherwise be able to go into. So the PIF is actually, a lot of people believe, is a weakness. I see it as a strength just based on the markets that they could go into and significantly increase their total addressable market by going into those markets. So it would have to be over $100 billion plus, in my opinion.
I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that. Somewhere in that area, I think that's very possible. On a side note, and I meant to mention this earlier, I just got a super chat from Ahmed, and he said, "I found it funny that Lucid CEO brought an apple to his latest presentation, but it was Newton Apple." You think he was just trolling people who think that there's going to be a merger? You think that? I think it was just a troll, and I think it was a good one, because he didn't have to say a word about it. He just happens to have an apple there and somehow ties that in because he could have used anything as opposed to that apple. So that was kind of funny. What do you guys think about that? You think it's just another sign? It's one of those.
I guess it just, yeah, it is more so for trolling. I can't see it being more than that.
Peter Rollinson has never been able to keep things to himself. With the CCIV, he winked at the camera when asked if they were going to decide if they're going to be going through a SPAC. And obviously it ultimately went through a SPAC, CCIV. When he brought that apple, I thought it was a very hilarious thing that he did, because he's never denied the fact that Apple and Lucid could potentially partner with each other, and nor has Apple. And if it, per SEC rules, you have to actually deny a rumor if it's false, because it can hurt retail investors. So I just feel like it's continuing to be foreshadowing and foreshadowing. They're at the DC location for the studio for Lucid. It's literally next to an Apple studio. And in Miami, it's the same thing. I know these things can be construed as a ton of different things, but at the end of the day, Peter Rollinson has always tried to give Lucid early investors a kind of hints, and maybe that was one of them. But at the end of the day, I thought it was an amazing troll job too. I mean, he's competing with Elon Musk right now to be a cool CEO and stuff, and that's very hard because Elon Musk is the Doge father and the memester. So I thought it was a very great taste that he did that, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was just a troll. I think it was just it was a funny one though. So kudos to that. Let's see if I got anything else for you guys here. Let's see. We talked about the supply chain, the apps. Have you guys heard anything about Lucid being in China or getting into China?
No, nothing yet.
Okay.
But yet they were supposed to tentatively start, I think, 2025. So they would have had to have started early on. But Similarly, if they are doing it from now, even delivering to Europe, consequently, like from amp facility, they could equally just deliver the opposite, right? So if they could hypothetically deliver there, but I don't know.
Yeah, China's going to be a tough market for them. There's a lot of EV manufacturers. A lot of them will fail over time. Uh, but here in the United States, we've got very few. We've got one, obviously, that's very successful, and the others are just starting to ramp up. But it's also a different culture, and they do different things there. Where a lot of their electric cars are, the size of my desk, and they're okay with that. Obviously, here in United States and Canada, not going to leave you out, Cal. People are not generally going to get into these little things. We'll see how like Electromechanica does going forward when their factory's done in a couple months. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Solo.
Yeah, the Solo. Their stock price is down, down, and down. But I've driven in one, and I was actually surprised that it fit me, and it wasn't that bad. The price point may be a little bit high, but we'll see. But they have cars in China, electric cars that are selling for $4,000, and they're able to saturate the market. And I think not trying to get too political, but China's definitely trying to get off of oil, and not for the pollution reasons. They're trying to get off of oil because they need to be energy independent. And if you look around in the world today, you can see we had to cut off our Russian oil supply, but that only means that someone else is going to buy it. It doesn't necessarily punish them, but we're not energy independent, and we were a couple of years ago. And now we're not, and now because of that, we have to find oil from places like Venezuela or deal with Saudi Arabia and Iran, and it takes away political clout basically to stop things like what's going on in the Ukraine right now, because India is just going to buy the oil that Russia used to sell us, and not much of a help there. So I think China's going for energy independence, as well as just taking over the world financially. But I think it'll be hard for Lucid to get into that market at the price point they're at once they come out with something that's a $25,000 car. Yeah, that's definitely possible. But Elon Musk did a good thing for Tesla by getting into China to avoid tariffs and all the problems of importing cars into China. So, because it's made in China, they're MIC Model Ys. So, I don't ever really see Lucid having a factory in China. There's really not going to be a need for it, not with the production levels they're going to have for the next 5 to 10 years. So, a factory in Arizona and a factory in Saudi Arabia is going to more than cover it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I think in the comments it kind of said in a good format, similarly actually like Europe as well, because hypothetically in North America, like things are fairly far apart. You need a bigger vehicle, you need power, whereas more so in China and Europe, like you don't really travel too far. It's very advantageous to still have an electric vehicle, but you don't need this big one that goes like 700 miles. Like I frequently travel to England, and in Canada, for me just to go to the gym, it's maybe about a 10-minute drive. In England, I've passed 2 towns or 3 towns possibly in that same time. So it's just a different concept that people don't really use as much. Obviously, I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on that, at least.
Yeah, well, my thing on range, and JJ in the comments, if our EVs don't weigh 1 billion pounds and get horrible range, Americans won't buy it. It's true. I want things with range, and I think that is important. It's a showstopper for a lot of Americans, because I know everyone doesn't go on road trips, but and I don't know if you guys own EVs or not, but if you can get yourself into a situation where you're like, okay, I've got 20 miles of range left, and you don't want to be in that situation right now with gas cars. I used to drive until the light came on and said I had 50 miles left. I'm like, great, I got 50 miles left. Okay, now I got one. And you still feel comfortable that if I got myself into that situation, I can find a gas station. With EVs, we're not there yet. But I would like to see cars with much longer range. And just even if, because the range is not accurate on any of these cars. So a car that says it has 300 from the EPA does not. It might have 250, and it all depends on your driving style. So I'm all about the range. When I drive to Vegas, I like to go 90 miles per hour. I like to go 100 miles. No, I didn't say that. But there is a dramatic decrease in your range when you do that, and there are still lots of places in Arizona that I can't drive to without a backup plan. And if I had more range, I'd be okay. But I've run into that issue numerous times already, where I'm driving somewhere and I had to bring a charging cable with me, and then I had to remove the outlet that was in someone's dryer in order to put in the outlet that I need and plug in the car. Otherwise, the car was there was no place to charge, and I did not have the correct adapter. But we shouldn't have situations like that. So I'm all about the range.
I completely agree. I have a Tesla Model 3, and it says that I get 267 miles, but it's really, my range only goes up to 231 now. And I was actually in North Carolina, Greenville, which North Carolina only has like 3 charging stations in unpopulated areas. So I actually had to go to a Nissan dealership to get a charge.
Yeah.
And it's
embarrassing.
Yeah, it's hard because it was pouring rain. I didn't know where I was going to go. But the infrastructure is going to be built up significantly. And that's one of the things that my eyes kind of opened when Elon said that they could have had a 600-mile electric vehicle battery, because a lot of people don't like EVs because they don't know the charging situations. They don't understand that the charging infrastructure is so built up in high populated areas that they're buying gas combustion engine vehicles and having to pay super high prices in gas because they don't understand electric vehicle range. So if you have the best range is going to win, in my opinion, and that's what is so attractive for Lucid Motors and to potentially get partnered with a company like Apple, because you don't have that situation where it's range anxiety. Like Peter Rawlinson said, you have range confidence. And a lot of new people, like BMW, I saw that there was a 650-mile range vehicle that was put into a Tesla, and BMW had put in $150 million investment or something like that into it because they obviously love that tech. So the market is going to get saturated in this range, the battery miles range. And I think that the Lucid Motors needs to attack now in the next 1 to 2 years, in my opinion, because unless they continue to grow their range, there's going to be competitors that have better or that are going to sneak up on them. And I feel like that is why now could be the time that a partnership could happen. And the fact that Apple said that they're going to pick their car maker in late 2022, I think is a little bullish on the side of Lucid. But at the end of the day, we won't know until Apple does partner, because Foxconn could take it. They could take the contract right now, and I wouldn't be surprised. We could license our battery to Foxconn, which would help make the Apple car, because it would be Foxconn and Apple, and you could see the PIF getting involved. But right now, Lucid needs to act now for that battery technology, because people are going to come into the field for that.
Okay. Well, Lucid has the challenge of dealing with whatever the 4680s come out at, because they don't know where that's going to be on the Model Y and what the range is going to be. So they could fall back to second place within the next couple of weeks when something is announced as far as what the range is going to be on a fully stacked Model Y with the 4680 batteries. And Elon Musk brings up the conundrum of the fact that You put all these batteries and you have a 600-mile range, and then you're driving around with dead weight. Because EVs, they don't exhaust their fuel supply like an ICE vehicle. You have a 30-gallon ICE vehicle, and when it uses up all that gas, it's 30 times about 8 pounds per gallon. Whatever that is, I don't do math. 240 pounds. So you're losing weight as you drive it. Where with the ICE vehicle, it's extra weight that yes you normally wouldn't use, but it would still be nice. I think if they put something out there like that, people would buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not they're going to use it, yes, the efficiency is going to be less because of the battery pack being more, but they would still rather have that at this point. And hopefully with the 4680s or any other battery technology that's coming out in the future, we can have smaller battery packs and longer range. And that's what we got to hope for for the future, to make it more efficient. And instead of getting 2.5 kilowatts per for every, or I'm sorry, 2.5 miles per kilowatt, it goes down and you get the 4 kilowatts where Lucid is, maybe 5, 10. That's what the future might hold. We just got to see improvements, because that will just mean smaller battery packs. But the range is still a little lacking in my opinion. So, all right. So we've been going about an hour. Unless we have any other questions, I think maybe we should call it at this point. Unless you guys got anything that you want to add regarding the Apple Lucid conspiracy, we'll call it, because it is, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't mean that as a bad thing, but right now this is the pros and cons of if it happened, and if the apple on Peter's desk meant that it's going to or not. So you guys got anything you want to add on this?
Well, I guess just to play devil's advocate a bit, same thing as what LucidVerse did say, that theoretically they would have to, what did you say, LucidVerse, they would have to deny
Yeah, the SEC per rules, you have to deny a rumor if it's untrue or if there's no legitimacy to it.
Okay. Because, wasn't that brought up by, who was it? The Bank of America? No. During their earnings call, they brought up about that Apple car, and they said that they have no plans tentatively. So what's your guys' take on that, by Peter saying that?
Great, Anthony.
After the earnings call, I was asking a bunch of people, and I didn't get one person that said that was a denial. I don't know if it was, but if it was a denial, it was very. It wasn't a sound denial. If that is true, then this probably won't happen. We might partner with somebody else. Which, if we don't partner with Apple, it's not the end all be all for Lucid Motors. It's not why I'm invested in it. That's not why the majority of people are invested in Lucid Motors. But Apple is just an unbelievable opportunity for a company like Lucid to potentially license out their battery technology, and having their technology in the Apple car would be a dream for them. So I feel like it was a bad question that was asked, and Peter Rawlinson could easily have just didn't have to say yes or no to it. A better question would be, like, have you been in talks with Apple? Because then he would have had to say yes or no. So I just feel like that question was made easy for Peter Rawlinson to just shove it off his shoulder a little bit.
Okay. So I had a quick question for you guys before we go. This is coming up in the comments. There's two things. One, I just want to answer real quick. Soccer player fan says, does anyone know how much you actually save using electric charge versus gas? You'll save hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars. There's no question about it. Anything else that you read online is FUD. I recently saw an article online that said even with the gas prices today, gas is still cheaper than charging with electricity. And the article went on and took the worst possible example of having to use like Electrify America at 45 cents a kilowatt to charge your car, which most people would never do on a regular basis. And then they compared it to something that gets 45 miles to the gallon. So don't read that FUD out there, because it's just nonsense. The other question that came up, and I'm just going to ask you guys, what do you guys think the low point on Lucid stock is going to be within the next 6 months?
The low, Anthony or LucidVerse, do you want to kick that off and start it?
Well, for the first question with the soccer fan in the comments, with an electric vehicle, at least for Tesla, I've had zero maintenance. My vehicle is actually worth more than it was then, and I only pay 7 to 9 kilowatts per charge, which is unbelievable in my opinion. As well as you can get free supercharging if you do referral codes and things like that. For the price and the low of Lucid, I could see it, and realistically, it could go down to 15. And I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying the entire market is just not ideal right now. And any day we could just be back into a growth rotation. A lot of, I know financial education, if you guys are watching him, he's very bullish right now because of how bearish the market is. So this is just a very, very terrible price target. But if it goes past $20, I could see 18, and then we could try to test the $15 level. But I can't see it staying there a long time. And I also feel like the growth rotation is going to be done very, very quickly here. If you guys listen to or watch SoFi, the company, Anthony Noto, the CEO, is continuing to buy huge blocks of that. So there's going to be something in that company, as well as I feel like that could be the start of the growth cycle. What do you think, Financial Journey?
I think out of everything, I agree with you about the 18. It's a very slippery slope, though, because if we do break past, which we're like on the S2, the second support level on the Fibonacci, if we break past that and actually close below that, then theoretically, yeah, it could be range bound between the 18 and 21. But I think the low will be coming over the next month, and I think that's going to be the worst case scenario. And yeah, I think it's going to be a value rally that starts to play in, because a lot of these growth stocks are getting well below their intrinsic value, just on that front alone. So I think that should cause a big rally. I think the biggest difference, since you brought up SoFi as well, you can tell on SoFi there's been a lot of institutions getting in, whereas today, relatively low, only 1 million shares being purchased by institutions. So it's definitely a big difference, considering when it was around the 30s, like there was roughly about like 5 to 6 million every day. Now it's 1. So I think they're taking a step back. They're doing a lot of puts on Lucid. But still, I think, yeah, 18 should be the low, and still at that stage, it's a slippery slope.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you guys. My opinion on that Lucid on that bottom is somewhere between 16 and 19. I do have a buy order in for 19. I've also got buy order in on Nikola, SoFi, and Tesla, because I think with the market being the way it is because of the world, because of Mr. Putin, there's just going to be so many different fluctuations that there's going to be dips. You get something in the news, everyone gets scared for an hour, it dips, and I think there'll be possibilities to pick up where you normally would not. So I've got those buy orders in for lesser prices and hoping that I can pick up a little here and there. So, all right, well, I think we're going to call it at this point. I want to thank both of you for being here. I think we've totally dispelled all the rumors and the conspiracies on Apple and Lucid, and we've covered everything that I can think of. So I want to thank you for being here. If you guys want to say goodbye, let people know where your channel is. I will have a link to their channels down in my description. I'll also have a link talking about free supercharging miles, Anthony. A link to, if you're going to buy a Tesla, please hit my link so I can get some free supercharging miles. I'd appreciate that. You guys got any closing comments?
Yeah, I appreciate you having us on.
All right. Well, thanks for being here. We'll probably do something again at some point, and we'll see you guys later.
See you guys.